Um, 4 years ago, a prophet came to the Netherlands, and I was invited to go see him. And before I knew it, I said yes, but I didn't want to go. But I'm a man of my words, so I went. I was hiding in the corner of the room. I didn't want to be there. I was hiding behind some people, you know. And then the man of God came in. And the first thing he did is he was looking through the room. Looking, and he saw me and said, "You there! Come here! God needs to talk to you." I'm sitting there, I'm like, me? He said, "You, come here." So I need to climb over two people to get to this guy. And from the moment he speaks, it is the Lord speaking to me. I felt with every fiber of my being, I knew it. It was the Lord speaking to me. He told me two things. He told me, first, come back to me. Then he started prophesying. He said, there is a young woman in your life. She does not know Christ. The Lord is telling you, if she does not start believing, I will take her away from you. This broke my heart. I did not want this. This was completely true. I was living together as a married couple, but we were not married, with my girlfriend. I had my own house, I had my car, I have a good job, I had my girlfriend. I was building a future with her. I did not want this, so I broke down. And I said, okay, God, I will go back to church, but I'll keep having faith and keep praying that she will find you. So I went to church. I rededicated myself to him. And for 3 years, nothing happened in my relationship. She didn't believe in God. She didn't want to come to church. It didn't happen. So, a year ago, I got into an argument with her, and I realized, I recognized, and I think this was the spirit within me. I recognized the crossroad in my life, and I knew I had to make a decision. Am I going for God, or am I going with her? And I did not want this, so I struggled with this, and then I made a decision and said, God, Lord, I was sitting in my living room, and I looked at the ceiling and said, Lord, if this is what you want, if this is what your promise is on me, then I will do this. But I need your blessing to be upon this, because I cannot do this. So the next day, I break up. It was the best breakup ever. But I felt pain, pure pain. Next day, I feel pure pain, because I was together with her for 6 years. And we were happy. We had a very good relationship. So breaking this up really hurt me. And I only felt pain, pain, pain. Then after 2 days, I wake up confused, because I was feeling happy. I was feeling the grace of God upon me. But I'm not supposed to feel this way, because I was supposed to feel pain. But I didn't feel pain, I only felt grace. And I go to work, I still feel this. I go to sleep, I still feel this. Next day, grace of God came upon me again. It stayed with me the whole day. It stayed for 2 weeks without letting up. I was carried by God over my pain. And he confirmed with me that I made the right decision. So in this period, I find out this prophet came back to the Netherlands. And I'm like, I'm going to see you. And I'm going to tell you that what you prophesied over me came true. So I'm sitting in his message, just similar to this. And he's preaching for 40 minutes already, and then he stops. He walks over to the side of the stage, and to the row I'm sitting, he points to me, he says, "You there, stand up." And I think to myself, Lord, not again. He walks over to me, and he says, "Stand up. Look at your hands. Look at your feet. Do you still got them?" And in that moment, God revealed to me all the moments in my life I should have lost a limb or a leg or permanently damaged myself. I need to explain a little bit about this. When I was a younger kid, just for fun, I was a teenager, I was making explosives. I was making bombs, just because I could. With ingredients I brought together. I was very knowledgeable about chemistry. So I was making bombs, big bombs. And one of these bombs exploded in my left hand. And you can see it, I still got everything. But when I arrived in the hospital, the doctor told me, because there was no life in my hand anymore, there was no blood flow, it was just messed up. And the doctors told me that I was going to lose a part of my hand. And they were going to bring in an expert to tell me how much. And I said, just to prepare you, don't get your hopes up, this is going to happen. And I couldn't open my eyes. There was gunpowder which flew into my eyes and it completely burned my eyes. They were going to bring an expert to tell me how much damage my eyes have taken, you know. Now I'm lying there on the emergency bed, and my dad was at home. He was still with the people from church, which were at home, and then my mom had to take me because we couldn't all go, you know. So I'm lying there, and in the middle of me feeling sorry for myself, I feel this strange sensation. It felt like there was sand in my eyes, and I feel it wash away. With my tears, it washed away out of my eyes. It's a really weird sensation. So I grabbed my mom and said, Mom, this is what I'm feeling. And in the same moment, she says, son, the color is coming back to your hand. Then the doctor came. The doctor came, he looked at me. He said, son, you're going to be fine. You see, later, I find out that at the exact time this miracle happened, my dad was at home, praying with all the people there for me to get healed. And I didn't fully get healed, but the life came back to me. My eyes are fine, my hand is fine. So in this moment, God reveals to me all these moments. This is just one, I can tell many, but for time's sake I will not. And that if I want to be in His promise, He said, you have a promised life. You know what that promise is. You need to make a choice right now. And as I'm standing there, and I'm looking at my hands and my feet, God speaks to me. And He tells me, stop climbing buildings. Also need to explain about this. In my country, we have many high buildings. Skyscrapers like in New York, but not as that. Pretty high. And just for the kicks, I was climbing these buildings, balancing on the edge, hanging from one hand above the abyss. I was doing all of this because of faith. I was getting in the news. I was getting on television, in magazines. I was getting invited to talk shows because people wanted to know who I was. I was getting fame from what I was doing. And God was asking me to give this, to stop it. I didn't want this. I gave my future to the Lord, which was my girlfriend. And then 2 weeks later, He asked me to give my identity. I didn't want this. So I break down, I started crying. I'm like, Lord, why? And I didn't want to make this choice, so I sought wisdom from my pastor. And he told me a story where he was down on his luck. He was feeling depressed. And he decided to just follow Jesus. And then he was in church and asked him, will you please stand at the door and welcome people in? Oh yes, I will do it. Could you help clean up these seats? Okay, I will do it. A year and a half later, they asked him to go from London to Amsterdam to lead it was still a very small church there. And at the time that he told me, we had 3 different campuses in the Netherlands and over 3,500 people coming into this church. We're still growing. So he stepped in faith, and God made him pastor over the fastest growing church in our country. One of the biggest churches in our country. And he is sitting there and he tells me, what are you afraid of? Do you think the identity that you can create for yourself will be anything in comparison to what Christ has for you? And I sit there and I need to agree with him. So I go home and I say to the Lord, I'm standing in my living room. I said, God, here I am again. And I'm about to make a decision I do not want to make. But I'm going to. Dear Lord, I ask you to please give your grace upon me, because I cannot do this on my own. But after this, I do not know who I am anymore. All that I have is gone. And I will be somebody I don't know. But I will start serving you in church. And the only way I knew how is to take photos. I'm a photographer, taking photos of myself on buildings. So that's all I had. Next day I wake up and I go on my phone and I'm checking my status. You know, a lot of people, including myself, in my country are addicted to social media. That's all they do. They spend at least 4, sometimes 6 hours a day on their phone. That's all they do. I was part of that. And through that, I got my identity. So I wake up, I open my phone, and I'm going through it. There's no connection anymore. My phone is there, but I don't feel anything anymore. And I literally throw my phone across the bed. I lie there. I said, Lord, this is amazing. I was freed of social media addiction, and everything that I felt affiliated with climbing buildings and all that, I was freed instantaneously because I made that decision the night before. Now, I went to church and I started taking photos in church. I said to my team leader, this is my story. I don't know who I am anymore, but I want to serve God, so I will do whatever I can. I want to go all in this team and to be at every church event, take photos and serve the Lord in this way, because that's the only way I know how. He was very happy, and the next day I get a text message early in the morning from him. And he told me that he really felt God pressing him to tell me that he and his wife, they were praying for someone to go all out in their team for many months. And he told me that I am answered to their prayers. So that really encouraged me. And for the next year, I'm in church and I'm only taking pictures. I'm at every church event and I'm doing this faithfully, taking my time, doing this. And through this process, I am growing in the Lord. And I am talking to my fellow people in church, and they are getting encouraged because I am stepping out in faith. And God, things are happening. I pray for a person, I'm like, hey man, can I pray for you? They're like, yeah, okay. Because I felt they were down, so I prayed for them. And then later I hear that the words that I said were exactly the words they needed to hear, because they were down on their luck. And the Lord used me to encourage them. So this process is becoming more and more and more. And I get so much faith within me that I started praying for people to get healed. And then this woman in my church, she lifted something heavy and she hurted her wrist. There was a really big bump, like a really big bump on her wrist. And she couldn't do anything with her right hand. So me and we pray for her. And it becomes a little bit better. I said, check. She's checked. She said, oh, it feels a bit better. I'm like, what? It feels better? Something changed? He said, yes. I'm like, this is the first time I've seen anything happen when I prayed for healing. So I'm like, let's pray again. So I pray again and it becomes a little bit better. After many prayers, the bump, as I'm praying, I pray, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command all pain to be gone. I command this wrist to be whole in the name of Jesus. And as I'm praying, I still have my eyes closed. She starts freaking out. So I open my eyes, and she's like looking at me. So I pointed at her. I said, no. She said, yes. I high-fived her, and the bump was gone. It disappeared like snow in front of the sun. It completely disappeared, and I'm standing there. I can't believe it, but yet it happened. And I'm like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. So I am fired up, and I start to pray for everyone. Later in church, this is a few weeks later, a friend of mine, we had a youth meeting. And Saturday night around 11, I saw her for the last time, because that's when it ended late, so I went home. Next day, I'm in church. And it's around noon, she comes in a wheelchair with her ankle in a cast. So I go over, I ask her what happened. She said, oh, I stepped wrong and I broke my ankle. And she spent most part of her night in the hospital. But she's there in church. So I said to her, hey, I prayed for somebody and she got healed. Can I pray for you? She said, yes, let's do it. So I prayed. And then she said, well, I can wiggle my toes. I said, yeah, I see that. She said, well, I couldn't do that when I came in. Oh, wait. Really? It's a bit better? She said, yes. Yeah, we should pray again. So as I'm sitting there, youth is surrounding her, because she's part of youth, and they tend to stick together, you know. So as I'm sitting there, next to her broken leg, which was up, and youth is around me, I say to them, like, hey, this is what the Bible says. Jesus said, I've given you power, now go heal the sick and raise the dead to life. And this is what the apostles did. And we should pray like that. And I also explained to them, like, hey, we can pray. We can ask, like, oh Lord, please heal this woman if you want to, in your time, by your grace and word. I said, don't get me wrong, the Lord always hears our prayers, regardless. But said that we should heal the sick and raise the dead. So we should pray like this. I command this ankle to be healed in the name of Jesus. So I get these youth. She prays, then he prays, then she prays, etc., etc. At the end of the day, she was walking. At the end of the day, she was walking. Less than 24 hours after she broken her ankle, she was walking. If you break your ankle, you're in a cast for 6 weeks. And then you take a couple of weeks to recuperate. The next Sunday, when I seen her, she was in front of the congregation when we are singing praise, and youth tends to go out in front and jump for the Lord. And she was jumping for the Lord with the youth, and I'm standing there and I can't believe this. The Lord fully healed her. And I'm like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Through me, stepping out in faith, trusting God that He has a better plan, a bigger identity than I can create for myself. God is moving through my faith, through this testimony, just to tell you, no. Because I am like this, because I'm stepping out of faith, I got the opportunity to go to Africa, to be here. This was at random. And my daddy wanted to take different people, but nobody could come. And I am here. The last person he thought of taking, I am here. And this testimony, yesterday and the night before in my hotel, I was out at night and I talked to people. I told them this testimony. 2 young boys gave their life to Jesus. Yesterday evening, I'm sitting with another girl telling this same testimony. This girl gives her life to Jesus. This morning, I am waiting for my breakfast. They are making omelette. And as I'm waiting, my dad is sitting next to me. And this man, he wants to know, my contact. So I give him my Instagram, which holds all the pictures of me performing buildings. And I said, oh, I don't do that anymore. He said, why not? So I gradually get to my testimony. And then the young boy gives his life to Jesus. Me stepping out in faith, God is creating a new identity. Showing faith everywhere you go, having the childlike faith to pray for everyone, to tell everybody about Jesus, will change your destiny. Is changing mine. And I praise the Lord, and I cannot wait for what He's going to do next.
Amen.
So this is my testimony, and I thank you that I got to share it. All glory to Jesus. Because without Him, I would not ever be able to do this. All glory to Jesus always. Because I am a weak man. The Lord knows that many of us are weak. But in Jesus we are strong. In Jesus we can move mountains. In Jesus we have faith. Because my God lives. My God heals. My God is true. It is our God. That's my story.
God bless you, my brother, for this wonderful